take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving. We got to never stop. We got to keep it moving. Make sure that we take it to the top.
Hey guys, I'm the Black Pearl and welcome to the latest episode of My Future, My Career.
And I am Zola. My Future, My Career is proudly brought to you by Nedbank.
This Nedbank initiative is aimed at equipping you with tools to make informed choices when it comes to choosing your career.
Indeed. Now we'll take an in-depth look at different careers, what they entail, and chat to industry experts in different career fields.
You could say that South Africa is built on mining. Just think of Joburg and gold, or Kimberley and diamonds.
Now we've also got lots of platinum, coal, and just about every kind of valuable mineral you can think of right under our feet. In fact, the entire history of our country would have been very different if we didn't have such amazing mineral wealth.
So, if you like the idea of digging for gold and you want to become part of one of the most important sectors of the economy, the mining industry might just be a perfect fit.
Now today we are going to find out more about some of the many career paths available in the mining and engineering sector.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
We kick off with a special message from the man himself, Mike Brown, CEO of Nedbank.
If you plan carefully, set goals for yourself, and then work hard to achieve these, you can be anything you want to be.
First up, we chat to Peter Nottenbolt, the head of Department of Mining at UJ.
In this country, there is a large number of opportunities, more than provision for mining engineers.
And later in the show, we get some top tips from the fairy godmother.
What I do is I teach people how to turn their dreams into reality.
All that and more on the show today.
Do you have big dreams of pursuing your ideal career but don't have the financial means?
Well, check out the bursary info in your booklet to find out the many ways in which you can get funds to study.
Yes, let's go.
To keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top.
Hello, my name is Mike Brown, and I'm the CEO or Chief Executive Officer of Nedbank. And I'm here today to talk to you about careers. Selecting a career for yourself can be a very confusing process. Now that you are in secondary school, you are expected to begin carving a path for your future. The difficulty is that at this point in your life, some of you might not have enough information or experience to make the right choice, and careers themselves are changing rapidly as technology evolves. I was fortunate enough to pursue a career I felt passionately about, but I was in a way lucky to start down the right path. Influenced more by what some friends were doing and what my parents thought than through any formal career guidance. After school, I completed a Bachelor of Commerce degree, followed by a diploma in accountancy, and finally qualified as a chartered accountant with Deloitte in the early 1990s. After 17 years in the banking industry, I have achieved a milestone in my career, to have the privilege of leading a proud organization that traces its history back to the 1830s. I say fortunate because I believe that I am the exception, not the rule. To help you become the exception and not the rule, we have launched the My Future, My Career initiative. Through a series of interviews with industry professionals and educational specialists, we hope to paint a clear picture of a wide range of careers available to you, so you don't just follow your friends like I did. To complement the series, we will also be providing each of you with a booklet containing national curriculum information, career information, places to study, and bursary information. These tools will assist you in making an informed choice that will point you in the right direction to match your skills, aptitudes, and passions to market opportunities and get you started on your selected path. Nedbank's slogan is "Make things happen." This applies not only to the bank, but to each of you in your own lives. So use the valuable information you will receive today to plan out your own future and make it happen. If you plan carefully, set goals for yourself, and then work hard to achieve these, you can be anything you want to be. Take every opportunity you have and don't be afraid to be ambitious. Who knows, you may even be the CEO of Nedbank one day, or maybe you have already set your goals even higher.
Keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top.
Peter Nortenveld is the head of the Department of Mining at the University of Johannesburg, where he has been a lecturer for over 20 years.
He's also an honorary life fellow of the Southern African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, mining is a very big field and it employs all kinds of people. But I want to know what you think the most important careers are in the mining sector.
Well, I would certainly put the digging out of the rock
Yeah.
as the most important one, as I am a mining engineer. But there are a host of other disciplines that people can choose within the mining sector. Obviously, there's many engineering disciplines, but there is also mine health and safety as an option. There is personnel, finance, and many others actually for that matter.
Now, with so many careers to choose from, how does a learner go for the right career path? How do you know that you should take this or not that?
Well, to me personally, it is a really important question that. And maybe I could answer it by saying a learner should make every effort to choose the right career. If they choose the wrong career, it can be a lot of difficulties in the future.
Yeah.
So selecting the right career, I think, must start with research. It must start with the learner choosing from where his skills and talents are and moving forward into an area where they are sure that this is the right thing for them. So one would look at their strengths and their weaknesses and whatever sort of opportunities they want to have for themselves in the long term. Things like what sort of ambitions would they have for 20 years away from now? Because one thing we must avoid is just doing a course. And it is a career that is being chosen, not a course. And that's why I say the effort must be choosing the right career.
Now, Peter, today we are talking about mining and engineering, and I know that there's different engineers on the mines. Can you tell me about the different engineers and what their roles are, please?
Okay, well, of course, I'm going to start with mining. So let's just enumerate perhaps the engineering disciplines that are used at the mines. As I mentioned earlier, you could actually say all of the engineering disciplines can be used and you can find a career in any of the disciplines that I'm going to mention. So my top one on the list is, of course, mining engineering. And then there's mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, industrial engineering. Perhaps the other major one for the mining sector, which is only applicable to the mining sector, is extraction metallurgy, or metallurgical engineering as it is called. So if we just go focus on the mining engineering involves the planning of a mine, and I suppose you can say the digging out of the rock to make sure it's dug out safely, it's taken out of the mine in a safe way, and is delivered to the extraction metallurgist. The extraction metallurgist, or the metallurgical engineer, as we might call him, could also be a chemical engineer for that matter. So the chemical engineer or the engineering metallurgist or the extraction metallurgist would extract out the valuable product from the mined rock. So if it was coal mining, or if it was gold mining, or platinum mining perhaps, or diamond mining, then they would be extracting the valuable product out of the rock that the miners mine. And so that is the miner, and a little bit about the extraction metallurgist. Then, of course, the electrical and mechanical disciplines, probably that's not unique only to mining or the mining sector. You would have to make sure that the machinery is bought, the right machinery is bought, and the machinery then is maintained and does the work that it's supposed to do, and that is operated safely, and so that the rock can be extracted efficiently and effectively out of the mine. Then, of course, there's many other disciplines, but I don't think they are unique to the mining sector in terms of engineering. The industrial engineer is obviously linked to efficient processes. The chemical engineer, very often they are also go into the metallurgical side because they are experts in that type of process control. And then, of course, there are many of the other ones. Civil engineering, we need roads built, We need bridges built
Yes.
in the mining areas, whether it's surface mining or underground. And the expertise that people have in those areas is useful to the mining sector.
But now, Peter, let's shift the focus to surveyors and things like geologists. Like, what
Yes.
role do they play on the mine?
Yes, they are very important, unique qualifications linked to the mining sector. As a geologist, you could find opportunities outside the mining sector, but the geologist is a person who finds the ore. He locates the ore and then tells us where that ore is, and the miners then go down and dig out the ore. The surveyors, of course, must show us where the ore is. They must direct us so that the tunnels do not go all over the place. They go straight to where the required ore is, and then we mine that ore.
Now, how does one study for a career in mining? You know, does one have to start with a general course and then specialize later, or do they have to know from the word go what they want to specialize in?
Well, mining is a generic study direction. And one would go to one of the major universities that offers the mining courses. And if it is mining engineering that you're studying, there's the opportunity of a technology-based engineering course or a science-based engineering course.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of subjects should learners at school be doing right now in order to get into the mining faculty?
Okay, like with any engineering course, you will require strong maths and science. And other subjects that are required or preferable are things like technical drawing or mechanical engineering drawing, which actually supports that type of understanding.
Is it hard, though, to get into the faculty?
We have a large number of applicants. The applicants that do apply are judged on a merit basis, and with good maths and science, you should be able to get into our course.
And is it a difficult degree?
I think all degrees are difficult. They require hard work and dedication over the 3 or 4 year periods, and there's no reason why a person who has a reasonable matric with maths and science shouldn't be successful with it.
Peter, what kind of things or subjects would a learner study as part of the degree?
Okay, well, the primary subject for mining engineering is the subject of mining. Then together with that, we have subjects such as rock mechanics, mine ventilation. We have management as a requirement, and mechanical engineering drawing and interpretation of plans. It's all focused on them becoming competent in the mining industry to do a mining engineer's job.
So should I decide to take up a career in mining, what kind of personal qualities would I need to have?
Well, the one thing is you must be completely healthy, because mining within the mining sector, you have got to have 100% bill of health.
Okay.
But besides that, you must be a people's person. You interact a lot with other people, and you must be able to give instructions to people, and you must be able to direct the operations of the mining activity. So it's largely personal, but it is also academic and mathematical, because you must be able to communicate nicely in meetings that get you to the right level of performance in the mine.
Now, are there job opportunities for mining graduates?
In this country, there is a large number of opportunities, more than our provision for mining engineers.
But is there scope for advancement and promotion within the mining industry?
There's great scope. If a person qualifies as a mining engineer, one can expect in 5 or 10 years to reach a really senior position in charge of large numbers of workers.
So can you get into the mining industry without a degree?
Oh yes, no, there's no reason why a person cannot enter into the mining sector without going through a tertiary qualification. It obviously is more difficult to then be successful, but the opportunity is there. There is what is referred to as a mine manager certificate, which people who do not go through the tertiary qualification can actually aspire to, and within 5 or 10 years, they might have that same qualification, which would then open the doors to a very successful career.
Nice.
Wow, Peter, thank you so much.
It is a great pleasure indeed.
We got to keep it moving. We got to keep it high.
Now let's see if you can solve this.
Is the following statement true or false?
In order to work in the field of mining, you need to be an engineer. Do you know? The answer coming up just a little later.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
James Murutuba is a qualified mining engineer involved in the production side of mining engineering.
Now, he's also a graduate of a management development program, an advanced management program, and has a master's in business administration.
Wow, that is big. Now today, James will fill us in on the day-to-day activities of a mining engineer. Welcome, James.
Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to know, what is a mining engineer?
Simplistically defined, I would say a mining engineer is an engineer in the discipline that's involved with the practice, the technology, the application of extracting mineral resources with the view of turning them into value, that is making money out of them.
So please do tell us, what does it mean when we say you are in production?
When we say you're in production, that is when you are involved in extracting ore underground, or you are involved with such teams that extract ore in the coal face or underground.
Okay, so do you go underground with the miners, or is yours a desk job?
Depending on what level you're at. If you are in management level, you'll probably spend a bit of time desktop doing planning or getting involved with the planners, and obviously strategizing to see how the guys can best extract the ore. And yes, you do spend time underground. You go down with the miners, see what they're doing, advise them where you can, and make sure that whatever they do it safely and productively.
Now, Prajay, let's dig deep into your career path. How did you get to where you are today?
It's been a long journey, 17 years in the industry. Obviously started with a base degree in mining engineering and started underground as a miner, that is going down 6 o'clock in the morning, or if not earlier, spend your whole shift underground with the operating guys and leading the crew from underground. And after 2 years, then I got promoted to a supervisor. That is where you think you've got a bit of slack cut.
Yeah.
And you go down still, supervise the teams underground, observe them, and do what we call second examination. That is making sure that the guys follow the legal rules underground. And I got lucky to get promoted to a mine captain 18 months later. And at that point, that's where you sort of spend a lot of work doing the base planning, and at the same time still going down underground to make sure that the guys do what they're supposed to be doing. And I got transferred to an open cast operation, which I think it was a very good thing for me. Then started getting exposed to open cast as a section manager, and got promoted to mining manager, and eventually became the general manager of an operation.
Yes,
A
all those
fulfilling
years
position.
paid off, definitely.
I think they did.
Now, how would the job of a planning engineer differ to the one of a production engineer? And what is planning engineering?
The planning engineer models the ore that we're going to be mining, and then he schedules where we're going to be mining. He determines the volumes that need to be mined out and the qualities. And once that job has been done, then it's passed on to production mining engineer, who's going to go down and extract that ore based on the information that he got from the planning engineer. So that is where the difference is, really.
Now, why is planning important on your mine?
Because I think without planning, really, there shouldn't be any mining taking place. You need to know what ore is underground. And once you know that, you need to know the quality of that particular mineral. And then you need to have the sequence of mining it out. So that's what the planning people do. And it is therefore very important to make sure that production mining guys, they know exactly what sequence to follow when they are extracting the minerals that we are turning into value at the end.
Okay, now listening to you, I'm thinking that planning a mine, it just sounds like a huge undertaking. Like, where do you even begin?
It is a huge undertaking,
Yeah.
I must say, but very exciting. The start of it will be starting with a concept to say there is a market for this particular mineral, and we need to go and find it so that we can turn it into value and then put it into the market. And that will happen in the form of exploration. You go and drill and core out the mineral. You evaluate it to see if you have that particular mineral. And once you have it, then you'll go to a pre-feasibility study where you say, let's evaluate this mineral and see if it can make money for us. And once we've gone through the pre-feasibility study, you'll go into feasibility study and start thinking of ways of extracting it. You model it out, you sequence it, and then you go and extract it. And that is how your mine is set up, really. And that is where your project mining engineers and planning mining engineers are much more involved before your production mining engineers come in later to extract that particular mineral that you're looking for.
Now, can you please tell us about some of the most interesting stories you've had? Because I'm sure there's been some interesting, fascinating stuff happening on the mine.
Yeah, there has been a lot of those. Some interesting, some not so interesting. At times threatened, and at times obviously being praised for a lot of things that we have done. Look, I made decisions, good and bad decisions, and some of those got me fired so many times and hired so many times. Sometimes in 2 minutes you get fired and get hired the next minute, based on all the decisions that we have made. And I remember one good story of the boss that I worked for, that after a very bad day, he said to me that he's going to fire me, but because he likes me very much, he's going to phone around first, get me another job before he can fire me. So I found that very exciting. But obviously, all has to be done with responsibility. And at the very end, you got to make sure that people that are working for you are safe.
Yeah.
So I think that is key. That's key for a mining engineer.
Now, James, what's it like working on an active mine? Is there a sense of community, or does everybody just go about doing their own business?
Different mines are sort of planned differently. So some are spread all over the area, like different shafts or different pits. And yes, in every section, there will be a team that works like a community. And obviously 2 different communities forming a little village and a few villages forming Kolere Kingdom. So yes, you do have such coherent teams that are competing against each other, that are making the whole environment on the mine very exciting. You wake up in the morning and you walk into your office and you call around, phoning different sections to find out what happened. And everybody's just so pleased with what they have brought on the table.
Now, is there room for growth and promotion within the mining environment?
The mining industry worldwide is growing rapidly, and South Africa is no exception. And Anglo American as a company has a very exciting project pipeline. So yes, with such growth and expansion in the mining industry, different mining engineers get moved around to different areas, and that opens up opportunities for up-and-coming mining engineers. So there's definitely a lot of growth potential, there is promotion potential, and you cannot go wrong.
Even in established mines, is there a shortage of mining engineers, and is it easy to get a job?
There is a definite shortage of mining engineers. People do move around for different reasons. And even within Anglo American itself, we have a very exciting pipeline. So people get moved from one mine to the next based on what we need to achieve in that particular mine. So yes, as we move people around, we create opportunities for other mining engineers. So the demand is there, the demand will keep coming, and we're gonna have to have a very good feedstock to make sure that we do not ever run out of mining engineers. So definitely you're a mining engineer, I think you made the right choice.
I think I want to be a mining engineer myself now because I'm so inspired. But what sort of skills would one need to become that, a successful mining engineer?
Apart from the basic studies, like obviously you have to have mathematics, you have to have physics to get into the mining engineering discipline. And we encourage people as well to have English, obviously to be able to communicate with the teams that we're working with. But I think going into the industry itself, I always sum the requirements for a successful mining engineer in 5 to say, have competency skills. You have to build those up yourself. And 2, you need to be able to communicate effectively for you to influence the teams you're working with and to influence your bosses as well at times. And 3, you need to have the courage and the confidence to make decisions. Whether they're right or wrong decisions, you have to have the confidence to make those decisions and then execute them. And 4, I would say, sometimes we think it's very easy to learn, but I think you need the ability to learn. So you have to have the ability to learn. There is wealth of experience and knowledge in mining, in Anglo American as well, lots of it. So you need to have the skill to be able to extract that knowledge and experience and use it to advantage. And lastly, you need discipline. There is no way you're gonna succeed as a mining engineer if you do not have discipline, if you cannot discipline yourself. Know what is first and do it first.
Now, what advice do you have for the people watching right now? You know, any advice if they want to get into the mining engineering industry?
I think as a start, you need to have passion for it. You need to love, and there's no way you cannot love mining. You have to love it, you have to have passion for it. But I would also advise people wanting to get into mining that maybe you need to take time before you study mining to visit a few operations, just have a feel of what mining is all about, because you get people that come to the mines and they get shocked by the environment and what is happening. So have time to have a look at what mining is all about. And once you are sure that that's what you want to do, then get into mining, study it, and then come join us in the field. And there's a lot of excitement, a lot of things going on in mining. And the issue with mining is that once you get into it, you'll never want to get out of it. Very exciting.
Yes.
You'll never want to get out of it.
Yes.
Mr. James, thank you so much for joining us. That was really insightful.
Thank you, it was.
Thank you very much.
After the break, do you get excited at the thought of grinding and massive machines? Well then, you love our mechanical engineer. Up next.
Our course wasn't perfectly trimmed. There were no greenkeepers, or sprinklers, or even grass for that matter. On our course, the hazards were real. Some might say it wasn't a course at all. But when you've played where we have, you know the true value of those who can make things happen. Nedbank.
We got to keep it moving, make sure that we take it to the top. We got to keep it moving.
Before the break, we wanted to know whether the following statement was true or false. In order to work in the mining field, you need to be an engineer.
And the answer is false. There are many other careers one could follow in this industry, like geology,
Surveying,
accounting,
heavy machinery operating,
construction, to name but a few.
of course, but up next, an electrical and industrial engineer. Let's go.
Next up, we have two engineers from Anglo American, Annette van Skalkwyk and Andile Ndiweni.
Annette, a mechanical engineer, will explain the nuts and bolts of engineering in mining. Next to her, Andile, an industrial engineer, will give the rundown on how best to utilize the mine's assets in ensuring the mine runs efficiently and cost effectively. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Annette, I'd like to start with you. You're a qualified mechanical engineer. Now, in a mine, you need a mechanical and an electrical engineer. Can you tell me what the difference is between the two and what exactly it is that you do?
A mechanical engineer is responsible for the operation and maintenance of all mechanical equipment on a mine. That is the equipment that's actually used to extract the ore and to beneficiate the ore. To make it easy, in other words, if we use a coal mine as an example, that's the equipment that you use to take out the coal from underground and then wash it in order to be exported to our international clients. An electrical engineer, on the other hand, is responsible for all your heavy current, your substations, your switch gears. But on a mine, if you are appointed as a section engineer, there's actually no difference. You are responsible for both electrical and mechanical equipment in your section.
Annette, tell me, how do you study to become a mechanical engineer? And is it different from studying for electrical engineering?
When you go to university or Technikon, the first 2 years in all engineering disciplines are actually very similar. You focus on common subjects like mathematics and science and chemical sciences and those kind of things. It's actually only in your 3rd year and your 4th year that you specialize in the discipline that you're actually studying in. So if you want to become a mechanical engineer, in your 3rd and 4th year, you will focus on mechanical design, aeronautics, transport engineering, and those type of things. On the other hand, if you then want to become an electrical engineer, you'll focus more on heavy currents, electronics, and electrical designs. So that's basically the difference between the two.
Now, Annette, once you've qualified, what happens then? Describe to us a typical career path for a mechanical and electrical engineers at Anglo American.
When you get appointed in Anglo American as an engineer, your first title is engineer in training. And we are so fortunate to have an excellent training program in Anglo American. And your first 2 to 2.5 years are actually spent on different operations, where you learn about open cast operations, underground, plants, smelters, and you get exposed to all these different kinds of things. And the idea of that is to make sure that you know the operation, the maintenance, safety and legal aspects around critical equipment on a mine. When you've then done this 2.5 years, you write a very difficult exam. I'm joking. You write an exam called your government certificate of competency, and that's an exam governed by the Department of Mineral and Resources. And that is also called a ticket. And only once you've actually received that ticket, you are allowed to practice as a production engineer on a mine, because that's a legal appointment.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Now, is it normal to move from mine to mine, or do they put you at one mine for a long time?
No, you do move from mine to mine, and it happens approximately every 2 years, and there's mainly two reasons for that. First of all, it's to get the exposure and experience for yourself, and to make sure you experience different kinds of people, different kinds of equipment, different sections. But also, it's for the sections. It's to make sure that you optimize the sections and get the best out of the people and the equipment in a specific section, because every engineer brings their flavor to that section, and by doing that, you can actually get the best out of that specific area on the mine.
Now, moving on to you, Andile, what is industrial engineering and why is it called AO?
Industrial engineering is engineering that involves with you working to make things better, making systems simpler, but at the end of the day, making sure that everything is quality. So asset optimization is basically doing the same thing within Anglo American, where we're making our equipment work better for us and making sure that certain processes become simpler, as well as delivering a quality product to our clients.
Now, why is industrial engineering important on a mine?
Well, I think what is common all over the world is that all the easy mining has been done, and now it's a lot more difficult to get the same amount of ore out of the ground for the same amount of cost. So we now need to work smarter, not harder, and that's basically what industrial engineers do. We make sure that these guys work smarter.
So how does one study to become an industrial engineer?
Well, it's similar to all other engineerings, as Annette said earlier on. First 2 years pretty much the same. You do your physical sciences as well as your maths. Then in your last 2 years, actually, where it gets very exciting, because you do a lot of management courses, like accounting, even business law, and a lot of like optimization-based kind of courses. And that's where the real excitement begins to come out within industrial engineering.
Yeah, now do you need to be like a super nerd? Do you have to be really good at mathematics?
I think to be an engineer, you need to be a nerd. That's
So
a start.
you're saying you're a nerd? Are you a nerd?
Yeah, between 9 and 5 every day, yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, there's a lot of analysis, which requires you to be very good at mathematics. And because of that, I think you need to have a very strong ability to mathematics. And if that's being a nerd, well, then being a nerd.
Now, once you've qualified, how do you advance through the ranks?
Now, the very interesting thing about industrial engineering is you can fit into many different parts of the business. So it's very difficult to talk about an exact kind of progression path within Anglo American, because you can work within asset optimization, strategy, project management, and even within technical services. So what I will give is a breakdown of how you advance as an asset optimization practitioner. Initially, you start off as a trainee, and you work for about 2.5 years. And once you get appointed, you become an asset optimization officer. And then you progress to become a specialist. Then you become a business improvement manager. Then finally, an asset optimization manager. Now, though those are the roles you fulfill within the mine, there are also roles you can fulfill within the central corporate office, where you can be working within implementation of change management, as well as doing heavy analysis on big projects. So there are many roles that you can work within in the whole business, and it's quite interesting.
Now, Nate, is there a lot of teamwork, or do you tend to work on your own a lot of the times?
No, look, absolutely. In a production environment, it is predominantly teamwork. And it's not only teamwork between yourself and your team, it's teamwork between your team and other teams, like your process and your mining teams. So, yes, there is some individual work, and I would say it's a combination of both. Both guys like Andile spend a lot of time analyzing, and that's more individual. And if you go into design and those type of things, it's individual work. But predominantly in a mining environment and your production environment, the focus is on teamwork. And to make things tick like clockwork, it's important to work together in a team.
So, Annette, I want to know, what do you do if somebody from another department doesn't follow the instructions?
Look, Paul, that's always difficult, and you need to take a step back and speak with that person, because there would 90% of the time be a reason why that person doesn't want to follow that instruction. And you also need to make sure that your instruction is actually clear and reasonable, and that it will lead to some kind of result. So most of the time it's actually just a communication gap, and when you can sit down and collaborate between the two of you, you can get to an understanding that can still bring you results in the end.
Now, I want to ask the both of you this question. Would you say that I need computer skills, or is it more practical?
No, you need good computer skills. You need to be able to do good presentations, good reports, good mathematical analysis, and that's the normal things that you can learn at school and university. But then there's also the site-specific software that you need to learn quickly. That's a software that involves your payroll and your human resources departments, your costing, your budgeting, even your maintenance scheduling, that type of software, and you need to be able to learn it very quickly and use it very efficiently when you are on a mine. So yes, your computer skill needs to be pretty up to shape.
And Andile?
Yeah, like you need to be very good on your computer skills, especially within our department, because you spend quite a lot of time doing analysis, which is basically on the computer. And as Anais talked about, that you also need to pull stuff from other mine-specific software as well. And I think one of the critical things as an engineer is when you're selling yourself, you tend to use PowerPoint presentations, and you need to be very, very articulate with that. So in general, I think you need to be very, very solid with your computer skills.
Yeah, Nainit, I want to know, what is the best thing about your job?
The best thing about my job is that not one day is the same.
Yeah.
There's such a diverse amount of cultures and departments on a mine, and every new day is exciting and challenging. And when you do make that production target, at the end of the day, it's exciting and you've got such a thrill and you feel so good. Or when you've been involved in a 74 million rand project and you actually push that button in the end and this amazing piece of equipment starts up. It's an amazing feeling, and that's absolutely a highlight of my job.
Yeah, and yours, Andile?
Payday. I think with asset optimization is actually when you see the fruits of a project come out, and all that hard, grizzling it out and seeing, wow, it's actually turned into something good. But payday is also,
yeah. Talking about payday though, do you get paid well? I want to know. Do you guys make a lot of money? Be honest.
I think Andile makes more than me.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I want to move away from the payday. I'm going to throw this one to both of you, but Andile, I'm going to start with you first. Any challenges that you face in your daily work, and what are some of those challenges? Do break it down, please.
I think with asset optimization, the greatest challenge you actually face is the fact that we're a new department. So a lot of selling yourself is involved. So you can come up with a very good idea, but then you get told that I was mining before you were born, so you can't really tell me anything. So you need to be able to get people to buy into what you're selling, and let them understand that we need to move forward and not look backwards. And that's, I think, the greatest challenge, because you get a lot of resistance to change, because you involve a lot of, my job involves a lot of change, basically. But otherwise, it's, as I say, that sometimes you feel like you're alone, because, I mean, the department's still very young and very small, and other departments are a lot bigger, and yeah, it can be tough out there.
Now with you, Annette, are there any challenges in your daily work?
Yeah, look, Zola, I'm in a production environment, and sometimes I think I'm fortunate, other times not, because in a production environment you work under a lot of pressure, under a lot of stress. And sometimes there's very, very difficult conditions. You work with limited resources, limited funding, those kind of things. So yes, sometimes it's very difficult, and you really need to think, like Andile said, how you can work smarter. And then, of course, you work with 120 people in your team. That means 120 opinions, and naturally that results in conflict. So you also need to really be able to handle that still in a professional manner, and still get the results in the end of the day that you need.
Yeah. Now, what advice do you have for people watching right now and who want to pursue engineering?
Well, the first thing I would say is that if you want to pursue mining as a career, and the first thing I would tell you is that mining is not a sexy industry, so you need to first go out and look at it and see whether it's for you. At the end of the day, I think it's a lot more about people, as opposed to maybe if you're going to work in a technical industry where it's more about you and the laptop. But it's all about people, and well, my advice is firstly that you should first check it out, and then be able to understand that you will be working with people, not machines, at the end of the day, and that's what makes a difference.
Yeah. And your advice, Nate?
Paul, there's a few things that's very important for me. I would recommend engineering to any person, but like Andile said, before you go into that field, you need to really sit down and think. First of all, you need to be a very disciplined, very hard-working person. It's long hours. Through your studying career, it's long hours. When you do work on a mine, it's long hours. And you need to be very willing, to learn. You need to be willing to tap information from any person that you meet. And thirdly, you need to be a very presentable person. You need to be able to present yourself in a professional and assertive manner, be neat and trustworthy, because if you are a mine owner engineer, you are part of management, and that means you're part of management of Anglo American, and you need to present yourself like that. Then lastly, and the most important thing for me, you need to be passionate about your job. You need to really have passion and energy to be an engineer. Because if you don't have that, and if you don't love your job and really put everything in it, you're not going to make a very good engineer.
Nice, that's some great advice.
Yes, 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 yes.
Wow.
Annette and Leah, thank you guys so much.
Great pleasure.
Wow, well, if you are not sure if you've got what it takes or you've got the nerves or the know-how for this career, then how's about you consider this from the fairy godmother?
Make sure that we take it to the top.
My name is Donna McCallum, and I am a fantastically fabulous and magical fairy godmother. In each of these episodes, I will be covering one of the 10 tips in more detail. And just so that you don't miss out, here are the 10 tips. Tip number 1, be authentic. Tip 2, play to your strengths. Tip 3, have fun. Do what you love and love what you do. Tip 4, it's your choice. Tip 5, learn to learn. Tip number 6 is dream big. Tip number 7, take action. Tip number 8, overcome your fears. Tip 9, build support around you. And tip 10, gratitude. Today we're looking at the last tip, which is the fuel for making your dreams come true, and that is gratitude. Start getting grateful for everything that you have in your life. The fact that you're in the cinema watching this program, you're young, healthy, and you have your exciting future ahead of you, you have huge amounts to be grateful for. Gratitude is an amazing energy that generates positivity in your life and shows you how much abundance you already have around you. I recommend that you start doing gratitude practices every day. Every night before you go to sleep, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Or one of my practices, every morning when I brush my teeth, I go through in my head all of the things that I'm grateful for. You may even want to chat to your parents, brothers, sisters, friends about the things that you're grateful for too. When you fill your life with an attitude of gratitude, amazing things happen. Try it out and watch your life become magical.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
With us now are Sam Mugele and Namishan Ramsuchit.
Yes, Sam has a BSc Honours in Exploration and Mining Geology. He is a geology expert and principal geologist at Anglo American.
Namishan is a qualified metallurgical engineer and has risen through the ranks from graduate metallurgist to senior plant metallurgist of Anglo American.
Yes, welcome gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Now, I want to start with you. You are a geologist.
Yes.
And we know that geology is obviously the study of rocks, you know, but what exactly does a geologist do for the mining industry?
Well, in the mining industry, we have to define and differentiate whatever which has been discovered to be able to maximize in terms of how we're going to mine that. That means we define the ore body in itself. So that the mining guys can know and quantify how much is it, and for us to be able to do some planning on it, for us to be able to cost effectively extract that.
So how can you tell what kind of minerals are in each type of rock?
Basically, all rock types are classified according to 3 categories, which is either it's sedimentary rock, it is an igneous rock, or metamorphic rock. So given that as a background, you should be able to differentiate certain rock types from each other. That's how you can easily identify different rock types and minerals in it.
So is it a lot of lab work?
Well, it is a lot of lab work, of which it is done basically outside. It's not done, you know, as part of our daily work. So that it's done so that you can differentiate which rock types and what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, so do you know about every single rock in South Africa, or do you only specialize in one area?
Well, you have a general overview of what are the rock types in the whole of South Africa.
Okay.
But as a geologist in a particular, whatever commodity you specialize in, let's say, for example, I'm from thermal, which is coal, so therefore I would be more focused on understanding the rock types, which is sedimentary. Mm-hmm. So that in itself, I mean, you'll be able to tell what different environments prevail for you to get like a coal deposit.
Now, Sam, do you have to do a lot of research before going on site, or do you just rock up there and rock the rocks and discover new things?
Therefore, it involves a bit of you having some background knowledge of what you are going out there to do. So that's a bit of research. And then out of that, I think the rest, it becomes just your norm of going out there and doing your work.
Mm-hmm. So can you tell if a rock contains metal just by looking at it?
Rocks in themselves, they host various metals, right? Therefore, if you know what rock types host a certain particular metal, then you can be able to tell that in this particular rock type, you've got either gold or copper, whichever the case may be. So just by picking up a rock, you should be able to tell that this is the particular rock which is associated with a particular metal.
Now, when you say the word geology, it sounds very complicated with all the rock layers and conglomerates. How does one study to become a geologist?
It's fairly simple. You've got to have math, science, and you can have either geography or other subjects, which is an additional. But maths and science is a prerequisite. And then you have to, you can join any other university in South Africa and study for either a exploration geologist. I think Wits University, they've got a specific program. And then the other universities, there's geology fields which you can go and enroll for.
Mm-hmm. Now describe a typical day in your life at work. Do you have to travel a lot? How does it go?
A typical day, really, it's more on doing the field work. Where you have to go and do exploration, which is, it could be in-mine exploration, where you go and get the rock samples so that you can define what you call your resource. Therefore, that in itself, it takes almost, a better part of your day.
Now, earlier on, I was looking at old pictures of prospectors and donkeys. They would go around and dig for gold.
Yes.
Why does it feel like nowadays it's kind of hard to be digging for gold and other minerals? Why? Because now we're digging deeper. Are they running out or what?
Well, minerals in themselves, they are not running out. It's just the shift. Because as you know that each and everything happens in layering, and everything which was easily accessible, like for example, as you mentioned in your question, that it's basically because the gold was either due to the deposition along the rivers, the penning, which is the penning of gold. But however, if you have to find your minerals, they've been explored, and you have to understand what is your ore body like. For example, if you have to go deeper, it is a tabular ore body which goes deeper and deeper, and it is still there. The only thing is that it's the cost of you having to go deeper to access those minerals, but they are still there.
Now, moving on to you, Namishan, I want to know about metallurgy. Obviously, mining is all valuable underground resources like gold.
Like gold, silver, iron, coal, and diamond.
Yes, so can you give us a better understanding of what metallurgy is?
Metallurgical engineering is a very broad field, and it's broken up into physical metallurgy and extractive metallurgy. Physical metallurgy mainly deals with problem solving as well as physics, where we actually look at the different metals and separate them accordingly. Extractive metallurgy is where we actually receive the ore, and then we use separation processes to separate the gold, which is a valuable mineral example, from the discard. And that can be done with all other valuable metals such as platinum, coal, and so on.
So you work out ways to get metals out of rocks using chemicals?
Yes, and you also mix up metals to create new kinds of alloys, like a coke, right?
Yeah, but I think the real question is, have you invented new kinds of metals, or
is it about improving or existing techniques?
Physical extractive metallurgists are dedicated on improving new alloys as well as making new alloys. And a metal in its pure form cannot be utilized and needs to be combined to form an alloy. Steel is an example of an alloy. It is a mixture of iron together with carbon as well as other elements. Copper and zinc are also combined to form a new alloy which is known as brass. Scientists and metallurgical engineers work together to create new alloys which need to meet certain needs. Such alloys are used in nuclear radiation shields, automobile bodies, as well as metals which are used in industrial electronics. Metallurgical engineers are responsible for the design as well as supervision of the production process in order to create structural steel, aluminium, as well as wires.
Now, Mishan, how do you study to become a metallurgical engineer?
College can be seen as a vital avenue for anyone who's looking to become a metallurgical engineer, but the basics actually begin during high school. For someone who wants to become a metallurgical engineer, they should choose courses which actually help them for an engineering degree. They should have an aptitude for science and mathematics. Most successful people choose their careers based on skills, abilities, and the subjects they enjoy most. The bachelor's degree for engineering is a minimum of 4 years, and intern programs are actually very excellent for gaining a better understanding of metallurgical engineering. If given the opportunity, it will be good to become a metallurgical engineer intern during the summer vacation breaks. Most colleges offer a full semester to work with a metallurgical company. Students who excel during this period are rewarded by being employed with the company once they have completed their degree.
So do you do a lot of field work, or do you keep it locked down in the office?
Metallurgical engineering, it depends upon which field you are, whether you're in physical metallurgy or extractive metallurgy. Extractive metallurgy, you're mainly based in laboratories, iron ore treatment plants, refineries, and with physical metallurgy, you do lots of laboratory work where you need to do analysis of certain products, dealing with failure analysis. And during certain times, metallurgists will need to travel to national as well as international sites.
Yeah.
And then in conclusion, I would like to say the study and working as a metallurgical engineer is very exciting and rewarding with lots of long-term benefits and opportunities.
Yeah, but what do you enjoy about your job?
What I actually enjoy is refining the metal, because we actually receive the metal as an ore, and we need to separate the valuable mineral from the discard. For example, you need to separate your gold or your platinum, and producing the final metal product is what's actually exciting for me.
And you, Sam, what do you enjoy most about your job?
It's more outdoor life with the field work, which you have to go out there in areas where they haven't been really explored, and go and spend some time there. That's basically rewarding, because it brings a bit of new information, which basically it's known to a certain degree, but in a refined state that you can be able to impart and improve on your plan. So that in itself, it's what I enjoy most. But I also enjoy being in the office, looking at, because basically once you have collected your data, you can create models of what the ore would look like and so forth. So that then in itself, it's quite enjoyable.
Mishan, Sam, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us as well. Thank you.
Before we go to the break, let's give our brain some exercise with this brain teaser.
South Africa is the world's biggest producer of which product? Is it gold?
Or silver?
Platinum?
Could it be diamonds?
Think about it. The answer coming up after this. After the break, we chat to a general manager in charge of establishing new mines and an environmentalist who will give us the ins and outs of getting the most out of the earth without destroying it.
One small step. One love. One body.
One shoe. Maybe one day. One opportunity. One silly mistake. Just one more.
One dream come true. One match. One vision. One chance. 1 minute on the clock. One touch. One pass. One cross. One-on-one. One hope. One shot. 1-0. One cup. One winner. One bank brings you the tournament that makes things happen. Kior, nah, the one. Make things happen. Nedbank. Take it to the top.
With us now, we have Leslie Martin and Kate McIntyre.
Yes, we do. Now, having worked at Anglo American for over 20 years, Leslie has done it all in coal mining engineering. From being bursted by Anglo American in the early 90s to being a junior, then section engineer, then a shaft engineer, to assistant manager, engineering manager, and now general manager of project services for Anglo American Thermal Coal.
What a mouthful. Joining Leslie is Kate McIntyre. Kate completed a Bachelor of Science and an Honours in Geology, receiving a bursary throughout from Anglo American. After completing her professional training as a geologist, Kate progressed to staff geologist, senior project geologist, and now environmental specialist in the area of carbon footprints. Welcome to you both.
Welcome.
Such titles under your names. Wow. Amazing, very impressive. Now, Leslie, you are now the General Manager of Project Services for Anglo American Thermal Coal. But you come from an engineering background. Hey, can you tell me about your career path?
Yeah, I think it's really been an interesting journey. As mentioned, started off as a mechanical engineer, started my first day on a coal mine. I think for the next 2 years, did my practical training before I completed my government certificate of competency. After that, being an engineer on the shaft, open cast and the beneficiation plant, I learned quite a lot about the operation, not just engineering, but mining as well. And then I got this amazing opportunity to go to Mafube project. At that stage, one of the new Anglo American thermal coal mines. I was part of the project team that implemented and built the mine and operated. So that was really an amazing experience. And then the next position came along in projects, and I grabbed it with both hands, and that's where I'm now.
So what exactly are your current responsibilities?
I head up a team of experts and project managers that actually develop projects through the different phases, from the exploration phase all the way down to doing the studies, applying for all the different legal approvals needed to build a mine, and then building and operating it.
Yeah, so how do you know where to establish a new mine?
That's actually the first step in the project development. We've got geologists running around all over the countryside, drilling holes, and they come to us and say, this is a plan, we found some coal, please develop a nice mine for us.
And once you've identified a potential coal deposit, what is the next step?
The next step is really to make sure that you've got the right people on that project. We assign a project manager to that project. We then take it through the different phases to see, can we actually mine it? Is the coal the right grade? Will it be economical? What is the impacts on the communities? What is the impact on the infrastructure? And we take it through all those phases to a point where the Anglo American board can actually make an investment decision to invest money in this project or not.
Now, Leslie, it must be a big job to plan a new mine. What kind of things do you need to put in place?
I think we start off with the studies where we need to do the detailed design for the mine. We need to do the interactions with the communities. We need to look at the environmental issues around this project that we want to develop. We also start off with the schedule because you need to know when certain things must be ready and when. We then go through a phase where we do the design of the mine. We see how we're going to beneficiate the coal. Do we have a market for the coal? How are we going to get it to the market? And that's what we call the study phases. We do all the engineering design. After that, we then go into implementation, where we start the physical building of the mine, where you've got all the different contractors there. You then start bringing on your own people that will staff the mine, and you go into operation where you hand over the keys of a newly built mine to the general manager and say, please operate this mine safely.
Oh, and that must be a great feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And it must be like planning a small city. You know, how do you know where everything goes, and what's the role of a surveyor when planning a new mine?
I think it starts off with all the experts having an input, and you end up with a block plan where you draw all these things, where the mine is going to be, the office building, where the shaft is going to be. And the surveyor's job in that is, when we go to site to do the physical construction, He needs to measure and point out where each and every little piece of equipment, building, road, mine needs to be, and we go on whatever he puts in the ground for us.
Now, please describe your job as a project manager. What are some of your responsibilities?
I think the biggest job for the project manager is to coordinate the different disciplines. He's got such a lot of experts working underneath that he needs to bring into one project. He needs to always look after what the community want. We call that stakeholders, farmers, local communities, whoever's got an interest in the mine. And he needs to bring all that together to come up with a plan that satisfies everybody's expectations.
Now, Leslie, I'm listening to you right now and I'm thinking what you are describing to me cannot be easy. So what is the most challenging part of your job?
I think it's really managing the interfaces between the specialists, making sure that you take everybody's expectations into account and build the best mine that you can.
And what is the most rewarding part of your job?
I think it's really taking the mine as a concept that was put on a piece of paper and building it and operating it and that being a success. I think a lot of factors make a mine successful, and I think if you can see that it's a business within a community and it adds value, that's probably the most rewarding thing in my job.
Now, I would extremely love to believe that taking the environment into account is absolutely important when it comes to the process of establishing new mines, right?
Of course. And you know, I'm a girly girl, Kate. And when I think of a mine, I think of this big, messy hole, you know, what with all the digging and machinery and chemicals. But I guess that's where environmental technologists come in. So I want to know, what do environmental technologists do for the mines?
Well, you know, mines aren't really all that much of a big messy hole nowadays. The persona of a mine has changed a lot in the last few years, and especially women in mining as well have changed a lot. There are a lot more women in mining and we're a lot more recognized. So on a day-to-day basis, each mine has its own environmental team, and that team really just takes care of the environmental going on, the water quality, the air quality, the dust, how the rehabilitation is processing, and they really just make sure that the team on the mine is applying to the legislation that's in place.
Now, are there any laws that determine what mines can and can't do to the environment?
Oh, absolutely. South Africa has one of the best legislations globally when it comes to environmental laws. And we've all heard of the green scorpions. They are incredibly strict. So we have to make certain that on a day-to-day basis, we really are applying to the law and trying our utmost best to do what we can for the environment to make sure that we're taking care of it.
Now, do the mines welcome your input, or are you seen as the enemy? Ooh, is this a collaborative process?
We used to be seen as the enemy. I would think it's changed very much in the last few decades. And we definitely have a collaborative process nowadays.
So how do you study to become an environmental technologist?
Well, I went a bit of a roundabout route. As you mentioned before, I have a degree and honours in geology. Now, what the great thing about working for a large mining company such as Anglo American is that you don't have to stick to that discipline. You're free to move and follow your ambitions and follow your dreams. But if you were to study environmental science or environmental technology from scratch as coming out of school, you would go to somewhere like UNISA, which has a really great program directed at environmental science, or otherwise one of the other fantastic universities within South Africa. But there you're not doing a directed degree in environmental science, you're doing a general BSc and then following through with an honours in environmental, which I would personally recommend as being best, because then you have a wider range of knowledge and you're able to move very easily between the different sciences.
Kate, describe a typical day at the office. Are you out in the field or do you spend most of it writing reports?
90% of my time is spent out in the field. I provide a service to a lot of the different operations, so I spend a lot of my time going out to different mines and just checking up and seeing that things are running smoothly.
So please do tell us about an interesting case that you've been involved in.
We have a lot of fantastic cases coming up. As I've just mentioned, we collaborate a lot with consultants. So, for example, we've got a small project going at the moment where any diesel spillages, which are obviously a huge environmental problem, are collected up and put in a bundled area. And we've got this fantastic consultant that uses bacteria and bugs and water. And that just breaks down the diesel and the oil and whatever's been spilt and turns it into compost. And that compost is then used in planting trees for rehabilitation on our operations.
And Kate, that's exactly what we need. Now, do you get a lot of support from the local community, and how do you get them to be on your side?
The community is very important to us. If we're going to start a mine, we're going to be there for the next 30 years or more. So their buy-in and their respect for us and our respect for them is obviously very important. We do obviously have times when we step on each other's toes. A farmer has a land that he wants to produce with agriculture, and we want to move in there and mine and contribute to the South African economy. So there are obviously times when we do step on each other's toes, but the whole point is that we need to be open and honest with each other. We need to have empathy towards the landowners as well, because we will be in their backyard for the next 30 years.
Now, Kate, we recently read about all kinds of legacy issues from the old mines, including the acid water from the mine that could poison Joburg's water supply.
So what we're trying to ask here is, has the industry changed the way it operates, or will the future generation have to deal with environmental issues that were caused by mining?
Absolutely, it has definitely changed. I just talked about how when we start up an operation, we intend to be there for 30 years or more. Now, obviously, when we walk away from that, we want to leave it in as pristine condition as possible. We're leaving that land to our children and our grandchildren, and their health and their community is very important. So the whole perspective from a mining industry has definitely changed. And yes, we are trying to fix up the legacy issues from the past, which obviously is a major issue for us. But to start from scratch now and start doing things properly and doing things 100% according to the legislation is really what we aim at doing.
Wow, and I have to add that you guys are doing a good job.
Yes,
great
definitely.
job. Yes, but wait, there's more.
So before the break, we wanted to know the answer to this brain teaser.
South Africa is the world's biggest producer of which product? Could it be gold, silver, platinum, diamonds, or coal?
Any guesses?
Platinum.
Is that your final answer?
Gold.
Okay, so platinum, gold. What's the correct answer?
I have it right here. Wait. Well, the answer is platinum.
Platinum, yes.
But South Africa does hold the world's largest natural reserves of gold, platinum group metals, chrome ore, and manganese ore.
Of course. And guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for having us.
We got to keep it moving.
And finally, to complete our broadcast, we're joined by Moronga Mogoena, who's here from the University of Johannesburg Psychological Services and Career Development Department.
Now, Moronga will run through some tools on how to choose the right career.
Yes, and this week she will look at a very important person, you.
Yes, this segment is called Who Am I?
Moronga, take it away.
Make sure that we take it to the top.
The most important question you need to ask yourself when making a career decision is, who am I? Perhaps what am I born to do in this world? What is my purpose in life? That is very important, because when you choose a career, you look for a place where your abilities, strengths, and weaknesses can be well accommodated. Now, there are many things that we can look at when looking at who the person is or what makes up the person as a whole. A few of those that I'm going to look at today are aptitude, personality, interests, values, skills, and goals. Looking at aptitude, this refers to the strengths that the person believes he or she has. And they include things like linguistic abilities, or the ability to work with languages and words, or whether the person is good with numbers, whether the person is good with other kinds of gifts, such as interpersonal skills, such as music, such as dancing gifts, everything that the person believes are natural gifts that they can use within the workplace. Aptitude nowadays, when we're looking at assessing people for career decision making, we also look at the rationality or the intellectual ability to learn, your ability to learn new things, and the amount of work that you have learned and been able to pick up from your environment. Secondly, when looking at personality, we're talking about the consistent way in which a person presents him or herself to the people around. We're looking at the way you interact with your friends, family. We're looking at the way you interact with the work. We're looking at the way you understand yourself, your preferences, whether you like your life structured or flexible, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you prefer working on your own or among other people. Moving on to interest, we're looking at things that you always like doing, such as the kind of toys that you've liked playing with, the kind of TV programs you used to watch when you're growing up, what magazines or books you used to read, anything that interests you, that you are passionate about. For instance, who were your role models? What is it that attracted you to them? What is it that you wanted to be like? Who did you want to, imitate when you were growing up? That informs your interest. It's informed by your experiences, your background, and everything you were exposed to in your childhood. Your career has to take that into account. And if you're not passionate about what you are doing, you're not going to be confident. So it's very important that you follow a passion that accommodates, or a career that accommodates your interests. Moving on to values, here we're looking at things that you've decided are important to you, such as the amount of money that you will get from your job, such as the security that's offered by your job, such as the environment you will be working in. There are people who will compromise certain things and not others. For instance, if you feel that you can never work with adults above a certain age, you'll always be working with careers. That's a value. You need to know what is it that you're looking for from a job. What is it that you value as a person, so that you do not compromise your standards. Research has shown that if you agree, if your intellect, if your personality, your interests, and your values are in agreement, you will perform and you will